a Sino souse of Marcus's small apartment. I some sound around the tiny kitchen. Hey, and was special. Exactly 3 years since he and Elena had started dating. He wanted to make it perfect, tossing eggs, butter, and the expensive coffee beans she loved. His lips, as he whisked the batter for her favorite pancakes. He set the small table by the window, was just waking up. A sea of gray buildings and early traffic, glass face. At its south, it was modest, he knew that. Austin South. And he believed that was enough. Horn being unlocked, Oakenbull. His heart lifted. He turned, ready to greet her with a warm smile. Day, pale and cold. Chief Tao, relax at weekend clothes. Bost, business terminus. Down, wholesome lads. Loss, tightly. And her eyes held a chilling emptiness. She looked at him, or rather through him, as if he were a piece of furniture, purse in the other. Wassam Sal, Honan headed Tana. Good morning, Marcus said, his voice tentative and cheerful. I made your favorite breakfast. I'll pour you some juice. His movements, eager to soundness, lie. Chess, saving up for us for weeks. Small, I sail he wanted, to give her later. Elena didn't move. I lost. She just stared at him, a look of pity and disgust on her face. We need to talk, she said. Her voice flat and emotionless, down his spine. Lars. It was the same voice she used when scolding a waiter for a mistake on him before. What's wrong? His smile fading. I'm leaving you, she said. Hephrem Souse hit him like a physical blow. Bye. Sal, what he had just heard. I led Souse, and then we had just heard. What? What do you mean? He stammered. Leaving? Is it your family? Did something happen? A sound of pure annoyance. Don't play dumb, Marcus. It's over between us. I'm leaving you, for good. He were a child. She looked at couldn't understand a simple I found someone else. Someone who can give me the life I deserve. Forward. Marcus took a shaky step forward. Weak. His like they were made of jelly. Someone else? Who? We can work it out. Besim Tam, we can fix it. Loss. But she flinched away, as if his hand was dirty, her voice sharp as a knife. You don't get it, do you? You're a nice guy, Marcus. Tanausen Nye. Rupai boring average guy. But I don't want average. I want a life, a real life. Power and money. Marcus insisted, his voice cracking with desperation. I'm working hard. I laughed. I was just about to apply for a new position at the firm, for Phi and Lana to show for it. He was a mid-sized financial company, and while it wasn't glamorous, a paths forward. He had plans. He had dreams for them. Bitter laugh. Ambition? You're a paper pusher, Marcus, and a salary. That can barely cover our rent. I lost. You think getting a small promotion after 5 years of slaving away equals ambition? 4. Headed south, checking account. Then you will see in your entire lifetime, under Faust the Tan. Marcus felt the ground fall away beneath him. Who is Sa Had? Who is he? He asked. His voice barely a whisper. He had to know. Asena Sena so completely. Sena's souse, in Nana's eyes. Elena's up a cruel sparkle. His name is Daniel Grant. He's the CEO of Grant Holdings. Ahonan is Tam and Tast. Entire building. And the 5 blocks around it. For Nor. He's brilliant, powerful, and he sees my true potential. Her voice was filled with pride. At the million pieces. Daniel Grant. I financially and for it. He had seen the financial news in business magazines. An industry shark. Way. World away from Marcus. and his small, cramped apartment on in loss. But Elena, I love you, Marcus pleaded, tears welling up in his eyes. I love you more than anything. Frusto fort. I thought we were building a future together, cold and indifferent. The bills. Marcus, or a sports car. I'm done living like a peasant. By Cancele. You, hein the Norn the Stowns. Inas. It was a heavy, brutal word. A houndness to Sast himself, a failure before. I front had his stast, had always hast, just starting out, working hard towards his goals. I hone lie. That was all he would ever be, on the downed to the marriage, she said, that was sitting by the door. Picking up her sitting by the door, all han even heard. Packed it, he hadn't even heard her. I had Salfin her. She had been planning her escape while he was making her breakfast. At last. Just find someone on your own level, pulling open the front door, maybe. Or a nurse, a someone to sin expect, much from life. Has some sows. And then paused, turning back to deliver one final, devastating blow. The movers will be here at 10 to get the rest of my things. Prass it. Make sure you're not here. It'll be easier for everyone if you don't make a scene. All with little to sis time. A flicker of something in her eyes. But it wasn't love. It was pity. And she was gone. That followed was deafening. The silence, frozen. In the middle of the kitchen, staring at the closed door, a sick and the sigh, a sickened, suddenly made him nauseous. Unhabble and surround the room. At the table set for two, the single rose, I juice stands in south, is grass. He stands in the dark screen of the television. A sessiony, sat in his samas. Standing in a kitchen that suddenly felt like a prison. How insane pedants. His back against the cupboards, shaking his shoulders. The tears, freely, silent sobs, shaking his shoulders. All with long he sat there. Minutes, maybe hours. The morning light, loth, that had once felt warm and hopeful now seemed harsh and unforgiving, crashing in the air. Hast. Every piece of dust floating in the air. I seen it in the souse. Nos. A life that was now empty. His phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. He ignored it. Boston house. Sigh. Frustown. Iron messenger. Mostly from friends. Asking about weekend plans. Home lost. And then he saw it. A picture that Elena had posted on social media. Smiling, radiant, holding a glass of champagne, and asterisk next to a tall, handsome man in a sharply tailored suit. Caption for my future. Dals. The future. Har wrapped. Screen. His thumb trembling over the photo. The man, so confident. So powerful. I linen Sal's. The ceasing were gents, he had taken Marketa's world away with it. All to swipe the screen away. Not wanting to look at it anymore. And tried to remember. In home sales. He tried to remember the early days with Elena, hapless India, in love. Flashbacks hit him in waves. A cheap pizza place. And a Sadas. Her eyes sparkling with joy, under a flickering streetlight. He had kissed her, like the luckiest man alive. And Ned, broken Cather. A tiny studio with a broken heater, blanket, for it. Shaking with cold, but shaking even more with happiness. Hycern loft. They had talked about the sun came up. Lost. She had said a house with a garden. Harthenhoust. Biscuit. He had promised her all of it, promising to works every hour of every day to give it to her. Eine film Tamas. Now. Those promises meant nothing. I dabbled of a naive past. Crushed by the brutal weight of reality. All and lost. His phone buzzed again. This time it was a call from his best friend David, a Shonat, for a moment. But then he answered, Fram Sass. Marcus, dude, are you okay? I saw Elena's post. What the hell is going on? Disconcern. Pass. Frust Marcus tried to speak, but the words got stuck in his throat. By hound. She left me, David. Arstaunas. She called me a failure, and hend from house. He could hear David take a deep breath on the other end of the line. Pie. I know it hurts, but this is a good thing. She showed you who she really is. Toxic person in your life. Big and Sauni. We the pain. But I loved her, David. I gave her everything I had. Our test. I would have done anything for her. His voice was raw and broken, like glass grinding against stone. Rast. I know you would, David said softly, but that's exactly the problem. And she wanted more. Lost. Frustrating how, the South, loss. And that's not your fault. That's her greed. Asin lost. Hennis, Sal. Fossum Towner. Don't let her win. Anas. But they couldn't find purchase. The salmon ashness. Too sensible for the chaos raging inside him. But Tansana. And lost. He thanked David and to call him later, but he knew he wouldn't. Here's some Sal. Sal, of his broken life, sound. Monday came too quickly. Moderate. Marcus dragged himself out of bed, his eyes puffy and red from crying all weekend. He skipped breakfast, skipped his usual coffee from Sonai in his closet. But he didn't care. He couldn't care. And Altaber, to the office, like a zombie, ignoring the world around him. First and loss. Swings, slightly, as the metal box ascended. Hound lost. He knew he looked terrible. He knew he should try to pull himself together. His manager, Mr. Fernmai. Benna, almost immediately. Nos. Marcus closed the door. Henderson barked, not even looking up from his computer. And headed in Jenerte. Wash over him. He already knew what was coming. Pasai. I've been hearing some concerning things about your productivity, Henderson began, finally looking up, and the nurse tasked. You've been making careless errors. You missed a deadline on the Smith report. What's going on? I'm sorry, sir. Frust lost. It won't happen again, Marcus mumbled, his eyes fixed on the floor. What was the point? Sit down, Lot. What was the point? Henderson, his voice sharp. I know you're going through a personal issue, but the company doesn't care about your personal issues. We care about your performance. Let us down some sales. Or I'll have to reconsider your position. Frust in loth, percents in loss. The humiliation was complete. Strand Berfromert, his tiny cubicle, sat down and stared at his computer screen. Ein town and show for it. The numbers and charts blurred together. He couldn't focus. He couldn't think. Was Elena's cold, cruel face. Hein lasses. All he could click of her heels as she walked out the door. After work, he didn't go home. Horn lost. He roamed the streets, his feet moving without direction, and then lost Saus. That had once felt alive now felt like a gray, suffocating cage. Quasius Endron lost Saus. Letting the noise of the traffic drown out his thoughts, all with Sanjarasaus for south. Past luxury boutiques, past everything he couldn't afford, up the Seine Sounder. In a store window, and almost didn't recognize the man staring back, Ian Stasi. He looked like a failure, exactly what Elena had called him. And then he saw them, of a high-end glass window, of a high-end restaurant, back with pure joy. Ida Saffer. She was sitting at a table draped in white linen, like Trand. Above Daniel Grant. He was dazzling, charming, powerful, frozen to the pavement. He couldn't look away, in slow motion, or south, and pull out a small velvet box, Prussian in Sal. He knew what was coming, down and dawn. Daniel opened the box, revealing a diamond ring that glittered under the restaurant's soft lighting. Saw Elena's face and Mark's line up with a brilliance as had never seen before. My home to South. Not for love, but for the price tag attached to it, all with streamed down Elena's face as Daniel slid the ring onto her finger, wasn't it in loss, kissing him passionately. Marcus felt his heart physically clench, a sharp, searing pain in his chest. The Ten Ming is the Souse in South, walking away. His steps unsteady and erratic, bawling. He didn't care. He just had to get as far away from that image as possible. The scene wandered in the streets for another hour, his mind replaying that awful scene on a loop. Wasify to Shound and Hound or Tat. Da, without even turning on the lights. And, as Sal, he lay in the darkness, staring at the ceiling, feeling completely and utterly hollow. Bonis Sav. As. In the heart, it would have hurt less than this. Baunin Losset. Losses. He felt like he of his own worthlessness, pressing and salient. The thought-taunting whisper. Failure, 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 failure. She was right about him. He closed his eyes, wishing he could just disappear. But the morning always comes. The sun will always rise. Ast is Sayer. Of this living nightmare, punctuality. Marcus opened his eyes and immediately wished he hadn't. Blank and indifferent. Felt heavy, as if weighed down by invisible chains. Every muscle. From the tension of the past few days. Panswilnik. But the thought felt unbearable. Anisal. Dark surcicles under his eyes. Unshaven stubble. A haunted look he had never seen before. By Hedger Stalot. He splashed cold water on his face and tried to pull himself together. See him like this again. Decestrin des Carnes. In stale. At the office 15 minutes early. And the sewn locks. The building was already buzzing with activity, trying to be invisible. A signhound. Oh, I'm sorry, he mumbled, stepping back. Of Everson and Herdesade. And Sade. He one of his colleagues from the finance department. Unassuming. Always kept to herself. By. Her brown hair back in a simple ponytail. Run the lot. Say. Howd. In Loth. Ed Soud. Rise held a warmth that caught him off guard. It's okay, Marcus, she said, her voice soft and gentle. Are you all right? You look a bit tired. The word tired was an understatement. He looked broken, but he appreciated her concern. But Town forwarded. It was the first kind from anyone all day, forcing a weak smile. Sound. Barry's my. Bot and Sasset. Emily studied him for a moment, her expression thoughtful, right through his lie. But she didn't push. Boshinus nodded and said, if you ever need someone to talk to, I'm as touched by the offer. I'm a good listener. Warat. Gasped. High South. But they had never had a real conversation. Orson and Loss. He had always seen her as just another face in the crowd. But now, seeing her kindness, he realized he had been blind. Thank you, Emily. I might take you up on that. A small but genuine smile. Coffee at lunch. Estrom sails down. Marcus hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Sure, that sounds nice. Days. Brustaurid. A tiny spark of something other than despair flickered inside him. From Cest. How? By Halnor Knox. Marcus met Emily at the coffee shop she had mentioned. It was a small, hidden gem tucked away on a side street. Talod and some sauce had. And the aroma of fresh beans filled the air. Honor sat and sat down. So, what's really going on? Hooray. Say. Quiet for a long moment. Marcus staring at his cup. Of 3 years, my girlfriend me for her CEO, he finally said. A failure. Said I had no ambition. Told me I was holding her back. on the Shannon without interruption, her eyes steady and kind. Sigh. Beinlon lies. My ex-boyfriend did the same thing to me. He said I was too focused on my career and take care of him. Alan lost. He made me feel like I wasn't enough. I the lesson nigh. You? But you're so together. You always seem so put together. The humble laugh. That's just a mask, Marcus. We all wear them. Hound lost. Hound nodded, trying to survive. Her honesty was refreshing. On their sound and ass. In his pain, how did you get through it? He asked, genuinely curious. From scene. Answering, I didn't run from it. And then, one day, I realized I was the only one who could define my worth. Not him. On myself, on my own growth. Oh. And eventually, I found happiness on my own terms. Her words struck a chord deep within him and had been spoken from Show Lyat in South. On Elena's betrayal that he had forgotten his own worth. He realized that she was right. He couldn't let one his entire existence. How do you start? He asked, his voice barely a whisper, and Strumor lied. When the pain you can barely breathe, Emily reached across the table and placed her hand on his. Marcus, one small step at a time. Pause. Then, tomorrow, Porsixan, and then eventually back. And realize how far you've come. But this time, they weren't tears of sadness. Someone understood. Sigh. Finally, he had a tiny glimmer of hope. All meanness for in my loss. As the days turned into weeks, Marcus and Emily started having lunch together every day. More personal. He learned that she had a business degree, Balas, on Les Soust. Frustales, seen the world in a way he could only dream of. Bylef incredibly intelligent. With a sharp mind and a quick wit. And yet she was also incredibly humble. All in Sao, I ed Sandestein, from my home to in Sound and Sal's. Less, Frust lost, offered advice, and made him feel human again. One afternoon, as they were finishing their meal, Emily's phone buzzed. Sound and Loth. She glanced, her expression changed, her jaw tightening with authority. So, a sir signed, she said. And commanding. I don't care about their timeline. Get it done. Marcus froze, surprised by her tone. He had never heard her speak like that before. Rusted and lost. It was like a completely different person had taken over her body. Soft-spoken and kind. But this formidable, powerful, intimidating. Mon sigh. And saw Marcus staring at her, softened back into its usual warmth. Sorry about that. Work issue. She explained, offering a small smile. Persast? Marcus nodded slowly, his curiosity piqued. Everything okay? He asked carefully. I'm a sad holiday. Just some people, she replied vaguely. Nothing I can't handle. She changed the subject quickly, asking about his job search, ailing that something was off. Who was Emily? Really? Frust serious, and Nassau's. More serious than a simple work issue, all with little in his apartment. That night, replaying the conversation in his head, a kind eyes and gentle smile. Sal, Als, and on the sat. The thought about her sharp words is jarring, pawn and whirring past. As he thought he did, laying him drawn to her. She made him feel safe. She made him feel seen, had shattered his world. He felt like maybe, Hermines. He could find his way back to happiness, and all with message to David, and typed out a message to David. Loss. Her center. That's what I like to media here. Keep pushing forward, brother. Loss. Nas. Felt einen Sheena. He felt a sense of peace settle over him. I lang. Less san, but he was ready to walk it. The next morning, Marcus woke up with a strange new feeling in his chest. It wasn't joy, not yet. But it wasn't despair either. Harsh, small, and fragile. It felt like hope, sand, and lost. Made decision to town him sane. He wasn't going to let Elena's words define him anymore. Assast its same sails. He was going to change. A flawed. He starts at small, an online course in financial management. Every evening, after work and study, the material as some souse, tersal, but complex formulas and unfamiliar concepts, but he persevered. He took notes, rewound lectures, and asked questions in the discussion forums. Hires. Slowly, the piece had also started exercising. Every morning at 6, rack himself out of bed and go for a run in the nearby park. The first few days were brutal. His lungs burned, his legs ached, and his mind screamed at him to stop. But he pushed through the pain, Elena's mocking words, and used them as fuel. He was not a failure, but he would prove her wrong. Emily noticed the change immediately, amoreness and loath. "You look different," she said one day during their lunch break. "More energetic, more focused." "In weeks," he admitted. "Nas, a better version me." Emily nodded approvingly. "That's the spirit." My shield say, "What's your plan?" He told her about his financial course and his exercise routine. And hence, Ham sighed. So starting his own business one day. Hythe T told her about his desire to never be called a failure again. Emily listened intently, her eyes sparkling with interest. When he finished, she leaned forward. "Los and Nauri. I have a friend who's looking for a project manager," she said casually. "Ang ashore. Hi. And she needs someone sharp and dedicated. Perfect for it." Marcus blinked in surprise. "Really?" Connelly. Emily shrugged, keeping her tone light. "It's a consulting firm. All business, town lost. High-level business strategies for other companies. Pay is double what you're making now." Marcus's jaw dropped. "Double? Good to be true." "Are you serious?" His voice filled with disbelief. "And bay me." Emily smiled mysteriously. "She trusts my judgment, and I trust you." Marcus left the meeting feeling elated. He had spent weeks feeling worthless, like he had nothing to offer anyone. Now someone was offering him a chance, a real chance. I'm lost. In a daze, his mind racing with possibilities. Itan Saum. What if he actually succeeded? All allowed himself to dream. Sal, for the following Tuesday, fielding early. Dressed in his best suit, he had polished his shoes, trimmed his hair, and practiced his answers until they flowed smoothly. He was nervous, but he was also determined. To the receptionist. "Announce some sales, Biden it, and a tall, unsaft. I had an Auradin's half. I all had silver-streaked hair, sharp eyes, on, and an air of authority that commanded instant respect. "Mr. Carter," she said, extending her hand. "Hello. I'm Victoria. Thank you for coming in." A shake and a tremble. "So, opportunity, ma'am." Amusement in her eyes. "Please call me Victoria. Let's go to my office." They rode the elevator in comfortable silence. Bide. South and south, panoramic windows, Ovland Samson Loss. Panoramic overlooking the city, and then settled into her own chair. Behind a large Emily. "Emily has told me a lot about you," she began. Marcus's heart raced. Ally had Emily said. He hoped it was good. And Taos, intelligent and loyal. Victoria continued her. "Exactly as I look for. In my team. Host and SimSpace." She had vouched for him, Hanmei, that he hadn't seen in himself. his voice steady for a long moment. Lust. Coming up. Who can handle pressure and think on their feet? South, are you ready for that challenge? Yes, ma'am. I'm ready. Possum Ishmaeled. Victoria's Marcus. Welcome aboard, Marcus. Let's see what you can do. I cat and sound. That evening, Hoskell David with the good news. I got the job, man. I can't believe it. The salary is amazing, and the work sounds challenging. I can't believe it. A voice was full of excitement. That's incredible, Marcus. I abbed his South for salary. Now, let's celebrate. I'll buy you a drink. Marcus laughed. I'd love that, but I need to prepare for my first week. That's the Marcus I'm running. David chuckled. That's the Marcus I know. Go get him. Tiger. When Marcus hung up, he sat in his apartment, Frustmasteth, allowing himself to feel proud of his accomplishments, but the souse and lot. To standing on the threshold of something new and, for Hardbray, exciting. But it was only just beginning, blinking in the distance. Date Townsend Hattas, and the brilling tacked again. He pulled out his journal and wrote a single line, today and always meant to be. Job Sand, in his new role, was each of him was tough but fair, challenging him to think bigger and move faster. Helen in the night. He analyzing data, preparing reports, and brainstorming innovative solutions. But he learned from them and lost and more competent than he had ever been. Presentation arrived. So I paneled the South table facing a panel of skeptical executives. Palms were sweating, his heart hammering in his chest. Forsake the Mashi. The nerves melted away and smushed his. He presented his strategy, answering every question with precision. I henna South. The room fell silent. Then Victoria broke into a wide smile and began to clap. De Selson and Loth F. Marcus. Victoria praised her. That was one of the best presentations I've seen in years. Marcus's chest swelled with pride. He had actually done it. I and loss in Sir Town. He felt an overwhelming surge of gratitude for Emily, who had believed in him, of Victoria, who had given him a chance, and even for Elena, who had destroyed him, Boss and Laos. Because he might never have found the strength to rise. I sense my. Heard you crushed it today, Arashurnio. Marcus smiled widely. Thanks to you. I would have gotten in this chance without your help. Did some souse, Emily replied. You earned it. I just opened the door, bladed for a moment. Then typed, I'd likes and hen and souter. To thank you properly. There was a long pause before her reply came. I'd love that. That Friday evening. The town lanes, by laws. The ambience was warm and inviting, with soft candlelight flickering on each table. Marcus had dressed up for the occasion, wearing a crisp shirt and blazer, or the sass and hell a nervousation. As he walked toward the table where Emily was, already seated, she looked elegant in a simple black dress, her hair down and curled softly around her face. You look beautiful, Marcus said as he sat down, I centering my forehead. Sal, turning a delicate shade of pink. Thank you. Honed her hands. Yourself. So, how does it feel being the new star at Stone West? I honestly. I owe it all to you. Bide dismissively. The Sal, Absaus, I just pointed you in the right direction. Your hard work did the rest, flowing easily from work to life. To life, sussed to dreams. Marcus told her about the pain of losing Elena. Heartbreak. Bossed. Marcus suddenly's dessert. Can I ask you something? It's a bit personal. Curiosity sparking in her eyes. Of course, ask away. Marcus hesitated. There was a call I overheard a few weeks ago. Assertive. So it's made you curious. What exactly do you do for a living? Palsied expression flickered. A brief shadow passing over her face, collecting her thought. She looked down her thoughts. Then she met his gaze. Question. What? I'll asked. But I'm not sure you're ready for the answer. Puzzled by her response. Why wouldn't I be? Emily reached into her purse and slid it across the table toward him. Marcus picked it up, his eyes scanning the elegant embossed lettering. RAD. The name at the top read, Ensign CEO, Stonewest Holdings. Marcus's heart stopped. He stared at the card, blinked, stared again. Danner soused. Sell. Wide. You? Phi. You own everything? Sep. Apologetic nod. Yes, Marcus. I am. Hindmass. In lot. Worst. Emily Stone. Chairman and CEO. Prosteel Tamors. The woman had been eating lunch with him in cheap coffee shops. In the South, patient. The woman who had such gentle patience vouched for him to Victoria. She owned the entire company. Discernal South. Right. From sales. She probably owned half of this restaurant, too. His mind raced, connecting the dots. The mysterious phone calls. The commanding tone. Restaurant simply. It all made sense now. It all made sense now. I hound the might Sal. Why didn't you tell me? He asked, his voice hoarse. Pristine and soundtine. Just another employee. Dawn and Nor. But, horsed out. Because I wanted to know if someone could like me for who I am, not for my money or my power. Hen the Norist. Marcus feeling a bitter taste in his mouth. So this was all a test? Kind of experiment to you? No, Marcus. It wasn't like that at all. Hound and souse. Emily, but he pulled his hand away. Parsum Hennerin. From the beginning, I would have understood. Marcus studied her face, searching for any sign of deceptions. You wanted a real relationship. That. You don't get trust like that. Doubt. I was going to tell you. For any moment. I was waiting for the right moment. The right moment. About my shame. About Elena. About my shame. And you just sat, listening, hiding who you really are. Emily's voice cracked. I never meant to hurt you. Sal, Kirsty and dissent to. You'd see me differently. And said and the Racton. So Marcus stood up to chauffeur, his chair scraping against the floor. I need some air. I soughed without looking back. Sal, Hallen sharp. Cool and sharp. Down the street, his mind swirling with confusion. He was angry. Shirred, tan. He was hurt. He was disappointed. Ponry South. One woman had left him because he wasn't rich enough, had hidden her wealths. Because she was afraid of how he'd react. As sail south, Mino, a dabbering he walked for what felt like hours, past closed shops and flickering streetlights. Since, past, couples laughing and holding hands, Pateline ascending in Sperme. In the south, all with littles in his pocket. It was Emily calling, Bossman. Then a text message. Please give me a chance to explain, I'm sorry. Marcus stared at the screen, his finger hovering over the delete button. Hold it. Sal, howled down from south. So, Wabasine buying Kermav. He, for what she did have. Assumption since. Real noun, I'll other she'll soul assumption. Norn. West South, day. Isasse. I how to face. Emily, and then Lyle. The step, dreading every step, bawled through the blots. He was met with whispers and stares, hushed in lots. Their eyes following him as he walked past. I in Haas. Emily's had been revealed to the entire company. Everyone knew. Est, that Marcus had been having lunch with the CEO every day. The rumors were flying. Did you know she was the boss and the Stanton Hyman? No, I thought she was just a quiet girl from accounting. Figure it out. As smart as we thought. Fry's house. Marcus felt his burn with humiliation. He wanted to disappear. Heart in the south. Asame Aldert in South. Instead, he had been assigned when he was hired. The same cubicle he had occupied before his promotion for Sound and Taints. The same cubicle where he had anonymous, nobody employee, prided and Norris. He sat down est. He couldn't focus. He couldn't think. My sail syntages, my halabdat, the whispers echoing in his mind. His phone buzzed again. Pine. Can we talk, please? Ma San and lost. If you just give me one chance. Haas. Did some breaths. Done some beer nassing. Yes, he couldn't ignore her. Dial off. Tal. Confusing and unwanted. Doubt a reply. Meet me after work. Unlossa Salner. Her response came quickly. I'll be there. Thank you. Marcus spent the rest of the day avoiding everyone. Answered minimal questions. I lost Souse from sorriness and counted down the hours until he could the suffocating atmosphere of the office. Lost. He grabbed his coat and left. The park was quiet when he arrived. The Sam and Langes overlooked a small pond, hole in Loss out, lap. No, Bials and an ohm sows. She looked the fragile, nothing like the confident CEO he had seen in the boardroom. Marcus approached Hast slowly and sat down next to her, leaving a careful distance between them. Allen down to softly. I wasn't sure you would. Saying is going to either. He admitted, but I figured it to both of us. To hear you out. Process. Ensure Sal. When I'm lost. When I first met you, I sent some tau. But it's pressure of my life. I wanted to be normal. Just one who didn't treat me like a wallet. Harn Nast. Letting her speak. My heart broke for you. Sal, I had been there myself. I exactly how that pain self. I saw your struggle, your determination. And I admired you, Marcus. I still do. A trained unreadable. Sast, on seal, with tears. I know, Ben, and I'm not proud of it. But can you blame me for wanting to be loved for who I am and not? A lot of people pretend to like me just for my money. I hate. He wanted to stay angry, dissent and indignation, to stand and wrath. Intenston was some more. He finally said, but maybe we need to take some time. Time to really get to know each other with home and the table. Emily's face lifted, hope flickering in her eyes. Us a chance? Horatoran. A south-south. It means I'm willing to try. For secrets, no more hiding. Emily nodded firmly. I promise. From now on, I'm an open book. A honed from sour sound. Marcus felt a hint of warmth in his chest to show for it. Maybe they could figure this out after all, between them. Something worth fighting for. He reached out and took her hand gently. Then let's take it slow. We have time. Alma B. and Sarah Kreis. Parsent. You won't regret this. He spent the next few days navigating this new dynamic, boss with renewed confidence. Thrust down Stal and hones my pan. But now, was my soust. And open about who she was, and why Sign liked her. Sal, dis to Haran, dis with a sense of humor that matched his own. Frustame Samaas. She never used her position to belittle anyone, rather, she lifted people up with her kindness. Marcus started to realize that his growing feelings for Emily had nothing to do with her, money, or her power. Ryder South when Lawson. Together, he bumped into Elena in the company parking lot, while she was standing Daniel's expensive sports car. A look of shock on her face. Marcus, what are you doing here? She asked. What? Clearly surprised. Lost. Marcus stopped, trying to keep his expression calm. This is where I work, Elena. Elena's eyes narrowed, scanning his outfit with disdain. For no lost. He was wearing the suit he had bought for his presentation, and on a nice, coarse suit, perhaps not as expensive as Daniel's. On was well tailored. You're working here? Shrat, she asked, sounding incredulous. Holding, he responded, holding her gaze. Dad, in fact, I'm heading to a meeting right now, her heels clicking on the pavement. Now, unto a stop. Beside Marcus, her expression filled with curiosity. Marcus, who's this? She asked. Marcus looked at Elena, then back at Emily. This is Elena. She used to be my girlfriend. Bod. Our expressions cooled slightly as she studied Elena. Ah. The CEO chaser. Elena's face flushed red. Excuse me? Emily smiled, unfazed. Marcus told me all about you. The Hesser Sestith own out company. I see he wasn't exaggerating. Blushing car. At the man inside it, Marcus, standing beside Emily, the she insane. At Ledger Town to sound. Elena and Sale. And got into the car without another word. Well, a girlfriend. The cest. Must be nice to live off a woman's money. He said mockingly. Alas, and South. Marcus, clenched and stepped forward. You must be Daniel Grant. I've heard a lot about you, too, on the cells. I see the rumors about your reputation are true. It town and sea to harass strangers. Instead of running your own company. And Sashin. Do I know you? Come a Samtarat. Emily Bess a Senintan card and flicked it toward him. Consider this an introduction. CEO of Stonewest Holdings. Daniel's eyes went wide as he caught the card, his jaw dropping as he read the name. Wait, you're Emily Stone? Drained from his face. He did know her name. I honed a pediatraden in South to know that her company was a major rival than his Stonewest. And it was a company far more powerful, successful. Emily smiled, enjoying his discomfort. I send Bio. Now if you're done threatening my boyfriend, we have a meeting to get to. 11 the house. She took Marcus standing there, leaving Daniel standing there, forceful or for it. Stunned, speechless. Marcus could barely contain his laughter as they walked inside. That was shot him, grinning. Emily shot him a wink. One of the few perks of being the boss. Plast. Down the Serre lot. Her in softening. She turned to him, her expression softening. But I meant what I said. I'm not big on labels. The show for it. But I'm not going to let anyone mess with you when you're with me. Deban. South. That was the moment knew that he was falling for her. And says some Sal, id some Sal. I homed their relationship deepened. S. Long hours. Frust, working together, but it was useful work, Besant team. And Hez and real satirist. Marcus felt a growing insecurity with Emily, beaten down employee anymore. Nas, he was a man with a future. And Houston was when Victoria called them into her office. Sal. The news had spread like wildfire through the company. Victoria had retired, passing the Stonewest Holdings to Emily Stone. Rustum's hand, lost, was made at a press conference the next day. Emily stood, stylish and composed. As she addressed the public, Marcus was in the front row, his heart swelling with pride. Hasser speak with confidence about her vision for the company. The reporter raised a hand, asking, Miss, the Sestemetz's foyer. Stone, now that you hold the top position, what are your plans for the company's future? For Seaman no Morowit. A smile playing on her lips. I continue to grow, to innovate, and to surround myself with people I can trust. Farmer Sound Dias. Sequel, people. Through hard work and dedication, not through name-dropping or scheming, was aimed directly lying a. directly at Daniel. A few weeks later, Daniel's world came crashing down. Found the meaning his school, Assam's laws, as he was preparing for bed. Face investigation for fraud and embezzlement. When he scanned the article, feeling a grim satisfaction. Howland Townsend loss, can sounds in Soundtellers, had finally caught up with him. Was since in the South, is synced, is shown loss. And defrauding investors for years. I am lost. Emily looking over his shoulder, quietly. Sal, CEO boyfriend, is going to have a rough few years. Bless. Loss. He was not a cruel man. I won that and lost. But seeing face consequences felt like justice. Affected Das Sal. He thought. Wastens and war. Looking drained and exhausted. Sass. Sass. Marcus was getting a coffee and didn't notice her until she was standing right in front of him. Marcus? He looked up, surprised to see her wearing a barista apron. Elena, I didn't know you worked here. Looked embarrassed. Quickly, glancing down at the counter. It's just a temporary thing, Herner sassed. I needed Daniel's assets got frozen. Huss felt a mix of emotions. Wasn't overjoyed to see her, but he didn't feel any joy at her suffering either. I Haas. That must be hard. Fass. Hard. Marcus. I lost everything, Marcus. Fancy lifestyle. I was with Daniel for his wealth. And now he's broke and facing prison. Her eyes pleading. You must be so happy. Possums, main son mountain no. I told you that you were a failure. Hound and loss and house. Spout, but I've moved on. I don't wish you any harm. Ellen in Sassons. At his response. You're not angry at me? I used to be. But I realized that if you hadn't left me, I would have never met Emily. Bass and lost. Jess sighed. I'm capable and lost. Now, he smiled at her gently. Honches and an Jean Ray, all in littlest, stared at him, and humbled by his words. You really changed, Marcus. Ursum sighed. Sal, and sense of lost in the South, washing over him, class, and all the pain she had caused him, foreign loss, where she was reviewing documents on his face. You look happy. I have all. Did you finish your meeting? I Haas Morris. Marcus Sass, feeling the warmth of her presence, at the coffee shop downstairs. I have finally found peace. But I'm okay. I finally found peace. And more 10. Reaching out to take his hand, he smiled. And love. For this incredible woman, standing before him, have assembled in loss. Cargetown at Tay. When I didn't believe in myself, a world of emotion in her gaze. Sal, pass, I'm glad I found you. Marcus's heart soared. I love you too, Emily. They stood there, holding hands as the sun dipped low in the sky, casting a warm glow over the city. Pas Narain. Marcus knew that this was just the beginning. Bagan Sahid. Sal. But he felt ready to face them all. He finally understood the truth that Victoria had shared with him. Money couldn't buy happiness. Buying the Senna lost. Real happiness came from finding someone who believed in you, Bunnan made you up, and made you want to be a better person. Found that in Emily, and he would never let go. A betters eep schnau, Cohen, nyazait chum IELTS writing, and essentially us to bear, postingath. House. Hom qua lam zum tangu, minner and see and pos, chazam how. Hound. Chi vit motkoviu. Sure, and task appropriate way. To use the proverb kon ya dai cho in an writing context. Asterisk. Example sentence. While many people perform exceptionally well in familiar environments, they often struggle to adapt when placed in unfamiliar or high-pressure settings. An idea captured by the but foolish the onus. Saying that one can be foolish abroad paraphrases the proverb in a way that is clear, formal, while still retaining its original meaning. Nath, how enough to show south. Marcus never wanted to wake from, and Emily had officially taken over as CEO of Stonewest Holdings, and it had promoted Marcus to Chief Operations Officer, Basil, a man who had been a low-level employee just a year ago, was now second in command of what Marcus had earned it on. Thus one, and tirelessly, learning everything he could about the business. And Sal, Iden Salmelson now, until his eyes burned to home in Sal's. He had attended meetings with investors, negotiating deals that brought millions into the company, not just to Emily, but to every skeptic who doubted his rise, had finally died down. Lot. And people no longer whispered of how he had been clueless about Emily's identity, par sense of brilliance. Sounding himself, calm demeanor. Under pressure, did some sales about how he and Emily made the perfect power couple, Desing and go to his head. But I dented in town, Fassus, bought to run 5 miles before work, all with little to show moth. He kept or wrote down 3 things he was grateful for every day. I shusting and bloth. He remembered the pain of being called a failure by Elena, Alla in state and Tad, of being trapped in a dead-end job. That memory kept him humble. Pust-out memory pushed him to work harder. This South. Balas. And how she shared stories about her early days in business. Arhishan lied, when she had nothing but a dream and a worn-out briefcase, before you needed them. Historials, Binningen is and lost, that if leaders' real strength comes from lifting others up, all you have something special. Marcus, Victoria told him one afternoon, I lost. As bias, they forget where they came from. Rusping. But you carry your scars like badges of that will take you far. Marcus felt a lump in his throat. A sames. He had never had anyone believe in him like this before. Found in Knopfles. So, Frustin House. Find home at sound in Smaris, Elena. When he was at his lowest, unlaughed. In fee, they saw something in him that he had never seen in himself. I hadna sigh. Shucks, Stone West Holdings. Stone announced plans to acquire Grant Industries, with lies and corruption. Then Losty, the company that had once seemed untouchable. There. Hot. By Ella orchestrated. And her legal team, Alan Lot. The business world was stunned. Grant Industries had been struggling for over a year. The company was bleeding money. His reputation was ruined. The company was bleeding money. Stone West swooped in and Stone offer that Daniel's board simply couldn't refuse. Marcus read the news on his phone. While sitting in his office, his hands were trembling, not from anger, but from the sheer poetry of it all. The noun and sound Sorn lost. Sai called him suchless. Now, who represented everything Marcus had once feared in sound, or soundlation. That man's under Stone West control, under Marcus's own control, holding a folder. Smiled. I him. Marcus nodded slowly. I can't believe this is real. It's very real. It's down in Frussenaus, and south, in Sen in Kansas. Abel, searching his eyes. How do you feel about it? Frysals. And all mix of emotions. Vindication, yes, but also something deeper. Something like peace. I hound Nias. I used to dream watching Daniel. I used to fantasize about the day he would lose everything. Wymet hands. For some humiliation and feel. He made me feel Emily listened quietly. She waited for him to continue. I just feel empties, lost, presenting it sound south. But I don't feel the joy I thought I would. Grateful. Emily reached across asked, Desix. That's because you've grown, Marcus. Whole loss. Faishan lot. You're no longer the man who forgives. On Monday, Marcus attended the final acquisition meeting, undefeated. Rast, Holman more poursed out. Hast, unable to meet his eyes. The meeting lasted 2 hours. Terms were signed. Ownership was transferred. The deal was done. Bus's say-in-law. Daniel finally looked up at Marcus. His eyes were hollow, filled with shame. I'm sorry, Hemsoreth. Barely audible. A cessation. He felt no satisfaction. Bosses of closure. Personally. Nexus. A south. And I hope you find your way. Daniel's eyes widened in disbelief to say something. But no words came out for Townend. He simply nodded and walked out of the room. Emily came up beside Marcus, slipping her hand into his. She said softly. Marcus shrugged. Maybe. Russ South, but holding on to hurt me more than it hurts him. By Nonali from Sound Lie. Emily smiled up at him. You keep surprising me. Marcus chuckled. Is that a good thing? She celebrate. Now, let's go celebrate. For 9. We just bought an entire company. I think we deserve a nice dinner. A few weeks ago, the place was quiet and intimate. Tucked away on a side street, it had become their spot. Rasli, Heron and Lawn. And always saved them the corner booth, Darrenet's house. And shared a platter of antipasti, on the nouse. Cess, Halma Brass. Marcus had been eating instant noodles in his tiny apartment, frustrated and nows. Now he was multi-million-dollar decisions. I toned and then laugh. Emily had been hiding her identity to find real love, Horizons. Instand it. Do you ever think about how we met? I and South. Hi. Marcus grinned. Our South mean. When I poured my heart out to a coworker, who turned out to be, Emily laughed. Yes, exactly that. I think about it all the time. Marcus said. Frasines from a Sen Lao. To that company event, a Salin had and sat to stay home. Emily leaned forward. But you went. Everything. Marcus nodded slowly. It did. By in Sass. I would have been happies in Sound Lot. The Sass, to stayed in that dead-end job. I would have never wanted more. Followed it. And I never would have met you. Emily's glistened with emotion. Ronning to Townen. So way your greatest heartbreak led you to your greatest love. Is seeking her hand, Sousent. But, yes, that's exactly right. Enjoying each other's presence. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Loneliness, the restaurant, hummed with softening of glasses. It was a simple moment, but it felt profound. Later that evening, they walked through the city streets, hand in hand, of the mind the cross-sets, of the tall buildings reflected off the pavement. The night air was cool and crisp. Bass and La Italia. Marcus said, his voice slightly nervous, curiously. What is it? Walking. Turning to face her, out of his pocket. Caught in her throat. Marcus, are you? Marcus. Opened the box to reveal a stunning diamond ring. Elegant. Perfect for hers. Awesome for it. I know we haven't been together for very long. A censors. But I also know that I've never been more certain of anything in my life. You changed me, Emily. You made me believe in myself. I show for it. You showed me what true love really looks like. Holding the ring up. A South. Emily Stone. Will you marry me? Hi Sal's. Hi King you. Her whole body shaking with emotion. Yes. Dropping to her knees. Yes. Absolutely yes. Tumble to the ground him. And they both tumbled to the ground. Hen lost. Ass I. Passers-by clapped and cheered. Abound Tade, I Bass Maud. Started playing a romantic tune on his violin, therein a lie, watching it sparkle. In the glow of the city lights. It's beautiful, she whispered. Just like you, Marcus replied, pulling her into a deep kiss. I ain't seen and sign nows. In all the major business publications, the headline read, Stono announced engagement, power, couple to wed, Regin and their love story. From poverty to prominence, Piney to building an empire. Sal, dynamic duo in the corporate world. Cess, but Marcus knew the real story. It wasn't about power, or money, or success, and seen in the Prost. It was about two broken people who found healing in each other, both yourself and others. Lost. Sabout and becoming something greater. As the wedding day approached, Marcus felt a sense of calm. Parents hence came to the city for the ceremony, paid and lost, wondering if his success was real. Dow. But when they saw him in his tailored suit, standing in a penthouse office overlooking the entire city, they finally believed. Happening cried. His mother had hugged him for a long time without letting go, his father had said. No. And howled to down some soaring. Beth, all with Thasters some sails, even though his father had never said anything like that before. Thou words. With grace. Our only Salmond and Dast. After, he understood by their own experiences, beyond their own fears. But Marcus had a last and loth, beyond what anyone had expected. Haas B.N. and South. The wedding a grand estate on the edge of the city, a sprawling lawn. Stretched out before a beautiful old mansion, white chairs were set out in rows, decorated with flowers of every color, with meticulous, lost, set, meticulous attention, the share sallying. Sal, fi sign, say. And she at sure that flowed and shimmered as she walked down, by torn lies. Marcus stood at the altar, his heart pounding with excitement. Her father, walking beside her. She looked absolutely breathtaking. Her smile lit up her entire face. Desane Alon. You're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen, he whispered. Emily blushed. Yourself. The ceremony was simple and meaningful. Personation. They exchanged vows they had written themselves, and hometown Tanum. Spoke of overcoming challenges, of growing together, every single day. Ev my south, every single day. Anal Cass and Loust. Officiated the ceremony, finding in South Hammer perfect. She announced to the gathered guests, it's about finding someone who brings out the best in you, someone who sees your flaws and loves you anyway, that in each other. The guests applauded. Foo South. With a kiss, the celebration that followed was nothing short of magical. Ball and loss. The ballroom was decorated in cascading flowers and upbeat dance songs. There was champagne and laughter, and more food than anyone could eat. Marcus and Offloff. His joy radiating with every step for her mentorship and guidance. So, Plost and headed David, his best friend, entrepreneur in his own right. Hassound Lath and Sound South, a foul with a Marsus. The story of Journey had captured the public's attention. Loss. He had received hundreds of messages from strangers telling him that his story had inspired them, and Hened a similar style found hope in his resilience. Bospor sang House. Program for young people from underprivileged backgrounds, aspiring entrepreneurs, that connected experienced business leaders with aspiring entrepreneurs. He wanted to be the Menever had growing up. But one did's tan and loth. He wanted to give others that had been denied to him. De Santorini, Greece. For Sandem stayed in a beautiful villa overlooking the Aegean Sea. I left some sals. And that's the actor that they made Emily cry. Hein. Marcus took a photo of her standing on the terrace, frustrating some solace. The golden light in her like a halo, the sun of it. I can't believe this is my life. Emily evening as they watched the sun, I left since Marcus wrapped his arms around her from behind. Neither can I. If someone had fading the, I would be standing here with the whore. Foss, house, in no other tender. Emily smiled, leaning into him. Lap asked. It was supposed to happen. The heartbreak. It all led us to this moment. Marcus to Ganner, the top of her head. I wouldn't change anything. Not a single moment of it. Han, House, Sal. They dove back into their work, and now to the company, Salos. A culture that valued people over profit, growth over greed, and unity over competition. Fully subsidized facility. I locked some soused, a high-quality, fully subsidized facility. They introduced flexible working hours and remote work options, and a wellness support. And they asked attorneys Hounslouth. Free counseling and wellness, and some said employees noticed the change immediately. Morale soared. Productivity increased. People felt valued and respected. My dad through the business world. To Sal, profiled their success. News outlets profiled their success. Marcus and Emily, as CEOs who genuinely cared about their people, as some sales syntaxed, and even Marcus had dreamed of when he had been a lowly worker stuck at. I said non Masep that he was a failure, and in said Masep, I'm lost. I let some by Hounds outs. When they discovered that a competitor had been poaching their top talent, the rival company was offering huge salaries and lavish benefits to lure away Stone West's best employees. Just 1 month, they had lost 4 key executives. Marcus was furious. Past him somewhere. Strategic. Approached the situation differently. Don't worry, she said. Vaughn with grace. Bye. In the main auditorium. Wondering what was happening, asked Sides. But instead of addressing them, she quietly walked into the crowd, Hezen lost. She said, her voice calm and authentic. I Sal. I know that some of you have been approached by other companies. I all dating and can and souse. Then we can match. Us and to den lost. Marcus watched curious about where she was going with this, for Soutliner sounded. But I'm going to ask you to think about what really matters to you, she continued. Soused. Because we can't always. Budgets. With other companies' budgets is something priceless. We offer you a community, integrity, a place where you're not just a number, but a person. A silence fell over the room. A Nora tournament. Down at their hands, Harris Sass in Mar. Emily went on, ignoring families. And I will never judge anyone for wanting to provide for themselves and their families. Dat, all I'm asking, is for you to consider everything you would be leaving behind. Special here. Something rare, Stinger and said. And Sal, when she finished. Some people were in tears. I sat to several minutes. That lasted for several minutes, for simply watched. Marcus filled with admiration. I wonders in that moment. And he realized why she was such an effective leader, or force, or manipulation. She used honesty and trust, the following assays. Power of that message. Only 1 employee left the company. The rest stayed. I Dan taste. More loyal than ever before. Palicication. The Emily's leadership. Marcus learned a valuable lesson from Emily's leadership. Happy, Hassan and Tarrant. And hectic. At times, for best. But Marcus never forgot where he came from. Apartment in his office. His Tessa's, cramped to shown place. It was a reminder of how far he had traveled. How do you stay and head south? Given everything you've achieved, a journalist asked him during an interview. Marcus paused thoughtfully, called me a failure. Self in contempt. In her eyes, Isa felt worthless and broken, crushed in sign, and now. I let that define me on the Cincy Nas and used it as fuel. He leaned toward the interviewer. Success isn't about never falling. For what? It's about getting up every time you fall. Then becoming interview went viral. From Machen, Freyens Talmud, from men and women in similar situations. His story inspires them this resascent to keep fighting, often moved to tears. Im Soust, Disherman-Taus. He remembered when he had watched videos of successful people out of reach. Now, sad to someone else. Now, forming others. To rise, responsibility he took. Seriously, the channel on Lost in Shane Lot, where he shared entrepreneurial and resilience lessons. The channel grew quickly. In just months, he had over 1 million subscribers. His honesty and directness. Hi, Hull and Lost. Sus. And now he was committed to paying that forward. Supporter. And Asirai. She appeared in several videos, sharing her own insights on leadership and success. Their partnership was an inspiration. Alice Enley embodied. Bryce Sound is embodied. A perfectly balanced team, supporting and challenging each other in equal measure. Marcus sat it in office. One evening, reviewing their schedules, Marcus turned to Emily. We've accomplished so much, haven't we? Emily smiled. We have, but there's still so much more to do. We're ready for it internationally. We're ready for it, Marcus. The team, the vision. Marcus nodded. Let's do it. Expansion. Let's take Stone West Global Loss. Preparing for international expansion. Paulo. London and Sao Paulo. And Marcus couldn't be prouder. Loster. Our home Manaus. Assast. Community responsibility. And Hanners Saining Naus. Hanners Laws. Marcus schools in underdeveloped areas, including his hometown. Hell and Northing. Hell and Loss and Loss. For deprived communities and funded health clinics in remote regions. Das safe. In home south. He wanted to prove that the little people were still fundamentally connected to their roots. Sales. Hoff and Loss. Emily often accompanied him on his philanthropic trips when Sir asked to find some sound. For his Sound Santa projects, they never lost each other. Together, they were changing lives. But even with all the success, they never lost each other. I had started as a couple. Matt. Every Sunday, continuing traditions, they had started as a couple. Brunch at their favorite restaurant. Walks in the park. Quiet evenings at home. Watching movies. Balance. That was the key to their success. I sat, and Firm sat. For themselves. I lie now. It was a fierce dedication. All I sante in law. A Sunday, while walking through the park where they had shared their first coffee, Homer for Sass. I bass and a sail about. Do you ever wonder what lives would be like if we had never met? Considered the question. I would probably still be stuck in that cubicle. I cessed to show for it. Eating instant noodles and dreaming about something more. A town in the south. Down and for sounds feel like. Emily squeezed his hand. I was so lonely before I met you, with some sarin. But I had no one to share it with. Hodge. Me. You were the first person who wanted nothing but me. Stopped walking, pulling her into his arms. Warsaus in Senlai. I rescued me in ways that words can't even describe. Any four. Let's build that future, Marcus. Air. Together. Last beyond us. He kissed her forehead. Let's do it. A realization struck him, filling him with light, by spas. From this moment forward was the full measure of his true success. And Ni Singtal and Nad Endure. On together.